with our boy Clive, our wonderful, wonderful Clive from Final Fantasy XVI. He is not
Yeah,
a slave anymore. He is free, and
well, I
so
mean,
is
that's spoil.
humanity.
That's
To
spoil. That's
make
half. That's like halfway. Yes, halfway spoilers now. Yeah.
I don't know if that's halfway spoilers. I mean, he couldn't stay a slave forever.
You don't think they would ever make a game where the main character is a slave forever?
I don't know. Did the guy from Tales of Arise, was he freed eventually? Was he free?
Give me more. I actually really like that game. Was he freed eventually? Yeah, he was. He liberated himself when he fucking. I guess is the first 2 hours of the game. He liberated himself when he went to like the the boss of the area and was like, "I'm gonna fuck you," and he killed him. And I'm like, "Oh, you're good now, buddy.
There you go. You're good.
There's your
You're good.
liberation." Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, so I finished Final Fantasy 16. I did a whole week of just streaming this game all the whole week. And yeah, I definitely have some thoughts on it. And it
Okay.
was a journey. I think
Hmm.
I came away I walked away from the game going, you know what? This game is I do recommend it. For me, it's a solid 8. If you're gonna go out of 10 or something, it felt like an 8. When you get bogged down in side quests, it feels like a 7.5 or 7 something. It really goes down. Uh, yeah, I mean, the thing I really liked about this game was it tries to tell different stories within it. It has beautiful imagery at times during some of the main characters, and I really do think you're rewarded for doing a lot of the later side quest, and it
So I'm
really does
guessing you did all
give.
the side quests, right?
I did all of them except for the challenge, the kind of time trial
Oh,
challenges,
those things. Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
there's one I missed. There are 12 missable ones in here. There's one I missed somewhere. I think I missed one. I don't.
Okay.
There's 75 in total, 12 that are missable,
So
and I.
yeah, I guess we'll talk about the ending of 16.
Oh,
I
you know what?
guess.
No, I didn't. I don't think I missed it. I think you have to do the whatever you want to call it in order to fill out the collectibles on the wall.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
the
Yes,
trials. Yeah,
that's
I didn't
correct.
do the
Yeah,
trials, so I'm missing one, and then the last collectible is like the one for you
for
got
doing all
everything.
of
Yeah,
them.
so I did
For
all the
doing all of
side
them.
quests. Um,
Oh yeah.
and what I will say is the side cast in this game, some of them are. I wouldn't say there's a lot of memorable characters. There's good characters. Don't get
So
me wrong. There's characters.
yeah,
There's characters in this game that have complex stories and more complex than I think other Final Fantasy characters because they're more potentially relatable or they're
they
going
feel
through
like
real issues. They're going
yeah. I
through
mean,
something
for
that's real.
me personally, okay. So at the end of the game, or starting halfway through the game, basically, you start doing a side quest chain for the people who live in your hideout.
Yeah,
And they don't like these side quests don't resolve until basically right before the end, like you
which is
go fight the final
horrible.
boss, right?
So horrible.
So
It's
like, well, I mean, like I'm kind of used to that because I played
but
like 14,
but
right, where
see
these side
those
quests don't resolve for a while.
but see those quests and they're really fulfilling. I hate the fact that there's so many people who will never experience them. And there's a reason that a lot of the just normal storytelling, if they just kind
Mm.
of did it normally, it would be in the middle of the game. It would be in the 50% of the mark, 50, 70% part of the game. This is in the 90, mark my words, 93, 97% of the game. I was literally tracking how far I was getting. That's where you get those side quests. And they all pop up at the same time.
Yeah, well, I
And
mean, like the last chapter has like,
well,
I mean, I guess the most side quests, right?
there's 12, I think there's 14. And keep in mind, this is if you've been doing them. I think this is kind of a detriment to the game is the pacing. It starts out with side quest being kind of a 1 to 2, kind of 3 things that just kind of pop in after you finish a main leg of the quest,
Mhm.
like the actual leg of like, hey, you fought the boss. Here's some side quest.
It's like the downtime. It's like the mid chapter. It's the breather
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
and then around the 70% mark, it just starts going into an overdrive of, okay, you talked to 5 people, had a cutscene. Here's 3 to 4 side quests, and repeat and repeat. And these
You know
side
what?
quests, you spend so much. Clive cannot run. This man cannot
Yeah, he
manually
just like kind
run.
of has like a sprint, kind of like a half sprint. Yeah.
I think I spend so much time. I look if whenever this comes to PC, I want someone to mod it to where this man can run or teleport, and I
But you
also
can
want it.
teleport.
I want him to teleport to the quest people and could directly turn them in, and I want the quest people to speak quicker.
You can
There,
skip dialogue. You know that, right?
so I was doing it on stream, and I skipped probably about 5 lines of dialogue through the entire
I
game.
skipped. Okay, so for doing the side quest, I skipped a lot of the
Oh,
dialogue. Yeah.
yeah. It's they literally. There's one point where Clive is talking to his uncle, and he just says, "Thank you,
I like. So I don't know if
uncle."
you're like.
So long.
Can you read in your mind faster than you can listen, or no?
I mean, for me, because I know that everyone on stream, I wasn't reading it out loud, right? And
Mm.
sometimes when I would skip it because there's so much pause in between some of the dialogue, I would read that and then I would skip it. Then there was other occasions where, at the very end of the dialogue before it changes, I would just kind of press it and then skip that
You would
way.
skip the next line.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So here's the thing.
Um,
Here's why I don't mind all the side quests is because we talked about this before. You can't really grind in this game.
and
You
I
can
can't.
you can redo action stages, but they don't give that many experience, right?
They
But
don't.
right. So the amount of the side quests that you get between these chapters, they do give experience, and that's how you level up, actually.
They give sometimes 5,000 XP. They give you a chunk of XP, about 30 to 60 renowned, depending on the quest or the hunt. And around most of the hunts are enough to buy you a song. There's a whole issue in the game with actual buying weapons. uh the game, to me, I think it really was held back in a little bit by trying to be an action game but also being Final Fantasy. And so they really like they never strayed away from this. They wanted everyone to be able to play the game and have fun with it. But at the same time, the more farther you get in the game, the more your basic combo string, your sword, magic, like some of those loops, they became tiring for me. Like actually doing that repetition for 90 hours, that got tiring for me. I found a build that I love. I love the will-o-wisp. If you're going to use it, max that thing out. The satellites, I love the satellites. Those things do a crazy amount of damage. And then there's another thing where you can use like Bahamut stuff. Like there's some really cool AoE. There's some really cool stuff with Odin. I won't spoil that. There's deep mechanics that are in here. There are
Did
some deep
you
combat
did you
mechanics.
use Odin actually?
I tried Odin out, right?
I tried him
There's
like for a minute, and I was like, I can't. I don't like this.
no, because they stick you with, and you told me, right? You're like, I
Yeah.
wonder how you'll feel when you get to the very like close to the end of the game, or in this, I think it's around 70%. You have all of everything. 80% is where everything kind of you have everything. And you're like, yeah, I wonder what you'll think of the later builds, bro. I tried to live life without Garuda. I tried.
I can't do it. Yeah, I
Oh
told you
god,
like
it was
once.
it
Yeah,
was like, what the
I
fuck's
know. Yeah,
happening?
like once Garuda. It's funny because Garuda is the first one you get, right? Well, aside
Yeah,
from Ifrit, I guess, right? Well, no, is Garuda
it's
before
Garuda.
Ifrit?
Garuda is, well, technically before Ifrit, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so Garuda's like the first one you get, and I never once took Garuda off. I was always cycling between
Weird.
my other icons. So I was using Ramu for a bit, and then I stopped using Ramu. And then my final like my because you can only have three at a time.
Yeah.
My final set was Garuda, Shiva, and then Bahamut.
Okay. Mine
And I'm
was
actually only using one Bahamut skill plus his gift, and that's all I'm using Bahamut for. That's it. I'm using his gift and one skill. So I'm using Mega Flare and Giga Flare.
which
And
do a
that's literally
crap
it.
ton of damage.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, because I used Shiva, and then I also used what was my second was Garuda, and my third was Titan. And I used Titan for the block, mainly his block, and I never took pile
The
drive off.
gift,
I
just his
never,
gift, right? The gift
yeah,
block, right?
yeah, his gift, and then the
Okay.
the pile drive. I never took the pile drive off.
It's
That
the Apollo Drive is really fun too. I was using that for a bit, and then I stopped using it in favor of uh, some other hard hitting skills as well. Like I started using so for Shiva, like I said, I use Shiva for her gift as well, her
yeah, that
dodge
freeze.
freeze,
Yeah,
the dodge freeze, and
the
I use her what's it called, Diamond Dust, her ultimate basically.
oh yeah, that thing, the stagger on that
The stagger on that is
is so
comical.
good. It's
It's
so
comical.
good.
It's so crazy.
And so
Yeah.
like when I would do stagger with Will of the Wisp
Yeah.
and the satellite, those things do so good on stagger. You just go up to the boss, and because you're invincible for X amount of times as you get hit, you just wail on them and just keep pressing. You just keep shooting at them with the satellites, charging those, hitting them, and then I was using Bahamut as well
Hmm.
for Giga Flare or whatever, and that would
His,
be
his the ultimate, right? Not
the
the
ultimate,
not the
yeah,
gift.
the
Yeah.
ultimate. So I would be shooting a beam at them
Yeah.
as the wisp were hitting them, as
Yeah.
I was still hitting with the satellite at one point. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the lamest build I could make, but it's actually kind of fun. But the
Yeah.
issue with some of it that I found, and I said this is where it comes with the balance of making it more accessible to everybody, is I felt like, why do I have two dashes now? You have normal dash, you have Shiva's dash.
Oh,
Shiva
her gift kind of thing, right?
so she, in
Yeah.
my mind, a really cool way to like make this combat a little bit, like to fix it a little bit. Shiva becomes your actual dash. That's your actual dash. That's your R1 or whatever you're using for dash. Your
Hmm.
actual, if you had a guard button in the game, Titan becomes your guard. Right? So you have that, you have a guard. And then if you want to summon like the sword for Odin, I think maybe having different loadouts a little bit could actually help a little bit because there's fodder enemies and I want AoE moves, but I don't want those
Yeah. Yeah. I
AoE
know.
moves
Yeah.
on the boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so you get this kind of thing of like, well, I don't want to use AoE moves on the boss, but you can't switch while you're in combat.
Yeah,
Uh
I know. I know exactly what you mean. So for AOE, like I like Rising Flames, the Phoenix gift.
yeah, yeah.
But then when you're fighting a boss, it's a little bit less effective because it doesn't have that much stagger and it doesn't also do that much damage.
Yeah.
It has really good cooldown, so it's a little more spammable. You can throw it in combos a little more, but I agree for boss fights, it's not as useful as a skill.
Yeah.
So you're in a tough place. You're like, do I keep it on me for trash mobs and I just kind of deal with it, or do I know, like for example, oh, I know I'm gonna go into a fight. Let me switch my skills real fast.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
could do
So
that, but I don't know if you did. I never did.
no, you kind of stick to it and just let it rock. And I mean, but that's combat. It overall it's satisfying. Maybe some people might say there's one too many accessories, or some people will say, and I will agree that overall in terms of like when you're getting swords, dude, I got so ticked off when I got Ragnarok, and then
Why?
I went back and I looked and I think it was Goots. Goots had some plain old. I forgot what that sword is called, but it was a gray sword that was actually more powerful than Ragnar.
How did that happen? Really?
It was the not the second version, but the first version.
It was,
Um,
but it was like Great Sword +1 or something, right?
it was some lame sword. I'm like, what the heck? Why
That's
is
so
this
funny.
even
Yeah,
here?
Ragnarok was a lot of work, honestly. But I don't. You probably won't do this. You probably won't care. But I think you need Ragnarok. Oh, you would have got the sword if you.
Yeah, I got it. The
Yeah, you need Ragnarok for
Gobbering
that
or
other sword. For that other sword. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the last one. I got the last one. I was a little disappointed that it doesn't look different.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it
It's the
looks
same.
fine,
It's the
I
same
guess.
sword. It's a copy.
Yeah. But
But
I feel like in terms of the story, I told you this like earlier, but like I feel like the first half of the story is extremely strong.
it is.
Um,
It's
and then
much stronger
once
once you know
you
who
get to the
goes.
halfway point, or like maybe
Oh
the
gosh.
last third of the game, it starts to get like weird. Like it starts to get like harder to follow the story.
So I think what the issue was is I followed it, but I didn't
I know.
care about
The
you
issue is
don't
that
care about Homeboy. You don't care about him.
the villain kind of sucks. I think is the problem.
There's nothing about it that
That
stands
makes
out that
he's
because
not a
he's
good. I
not the
would.
villain. He's not the villain that you deal with the most of the game, right? He's not who you see most of the game. You
Yeah.
deal with the dominants, and those people, those dominants, they have their ideals.
They
They
have like
have
personalities. They have personalities.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's who you have. Well, sorry, that's who Clive even has beef with. Clive don't know this dude. I don't know this man.
I
You know,
think I think like now that I beat the game like a month ago and I was out on it, I think the villain, the final boss of this game is pretty weak in terms of like it just when thinking about the other final bosses of other Final Fantasy games. Yeah, he kind of sucks, right? He's kind
he
of like
he
not memorable,
he's
right?
not memorable for honestly for honestly probably an enemy that is very traditional in a lot of Final Fantasies that
Well, I would say most JRPGs, like he's a very stereotypical final JRPG boss in terms of the role that he serves, right?
I love how his mistake is probably the whole crux of the game, and I won't spoil it, was just because he did something that honestly was kind of dumb. It's not dumb. It's like what anyone would actually do in this kind of in this situation. But this is a game where honestly they try to make sure that every question is answered. They always make sure that they try to fill in the whys, and that's also why you end up walking from quest A to quest B if it's just walk and talk, because they want to make sure that hey, you don't ever have to ask like, well, how did this happen, or why did this happen so quickly. um but yeah, the final boss of the game compared to Bahamut, I gotta say Bahamut, that fight,
Oh, the
that
Bahamut
fight,
fight was really fun.
holy
Yeah,
crap,
super
that
cool. I
fight
know.
was awesome.
I was
Uh,
like,
whew,
it's a pretty crazy fight. Yeah, I
that
agree.
was, I think that's one of the best fights I've had in a game with a boss of scale. Titan was cool. There, a lot of these enemies are spongy. Don't get me wrong. It's like a
Well, I
20,
mean,
30
they're
minute
long
fight for them.
fights. They're
Yeah,
like 40 minutes long. Yeah, they're
yeah,
long fights. They're
they're
long
no
fights.
joke. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I have for the game. It was fun. I would say, yeah, just do the side quests as you get them. That's probably the best way to do it because
Yeah,
they
don't lead them to the
don't leave
end.
them.
Like,
Don't
yeah.
leave. Do not do it.
But
Um,
like, I mean, like, Final Fantasy 14 is the same way too, where like their main story quests are spread out in between chunks of like you not doing the story. Like you're doing a ton of random stuff in 14.
yeah,
Um, so like I approach the side quest in the same way that I approached the side quest in 14, where like you get to a town, you open your
yeah,
map, and you're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of exclamation points. And you just like pick them all up. You just pick all the quests up, and
yep.
then you go to like the field and you open your map again, and you're like, let me knock out 5 of these, and then you just like do the quest, teleport back to town, turn them all in, and you
That's
just like level up twice, and you're like, I'm good to go.
that's exactly how I did all of them. But
Yeah.
just a word of warning: the very last ones, that's 5 hours in a row. That's 5 hours. It's five
Five
hours worth.
hours? What were the what? Which
It's
ones?
the all of the ones that pop up at the end, 5 hours. Because I as I was doing them throughout,
Mhm.
the first stream I legit, or like the previous stream I picked them all up, and then that stream I just did all of them back to back to back to back
Oh,
to
I
back.
think I remember doing those quests too. So I think I took those quests at like maybe 9 p.m. and then I went to bed at like 3 or
Yeah,
something like
you
that. Yeah.
yeah, most of them they do take some time, but honestly, I gotta say, I would urge everyone to stick with them, stick with them because some of the
They have
characters
like they have character payoffs,
they have
not like
character
well some of
payoffs.
them have mechanic payoffs like when you get more potions or whatever, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, that dude was weird.
uh if you want more development with the characters, with the people that live in the hideaway and also the people that are closest to Clive,
Yeah,
yeah, the side
you
quests
just
where you get. I mean, the last quest with Torgal, like that was
that's
so.
yeah. I was
That's,
gonna say that. I didn't know if we want to say, but yeah, Torgal's
that was
honestly best character in the
yeah.
game is Torgal.
That was so
I'm gonna
sweet.
say
Like
it.
Torgal's quest, man. When you go to the
Yeah, the
treehouse, I
little
was like,
tree
oh my,
house, and
like oh my god,
my
yeah.
man said, "I never stopped looking for you." I was like, "Oh shit, man!"
I was like, oh yeah, yo man. Yeah,
Tor-
when Clive said that, he's like, you never stop looking for me, boy. I was like, oh my
Torgal
god,
is the best character in this game. Torgal speaks up
yeah,
when you are in trouble. He helps you
yeah,
when you're in trouble. Torgal you control. You get to like add
yeah,
him to your
like
gameplay.
yeah.
Torgal is just adorable and also fierce. I love Torgal, right? Uh,
Torgal's good, yeah.
Jill, Jill, Jill is Jill. I think, but yeah, there's missed opportunities, right? There's missed opportunities with
I,
Jill, with
yeah, for
Taya.
sure,
Taya has missed opportunities.
yeah.
Vivian has missed opportunities. Honestly, the whole cast has missed opportunities, and it made me think like this
They probably
story.
don't want to make the game longer than they do because otherwise it would turn into like a mini 14.
I,
Like, you know what I mean?
I think the issue was just that this game had it didn't know what it wanted to be at some points. Was it about Clive liberating slaves or Sid liberating slaves, or was
Uh,
it about a love story between Jill and Clive?
I mean, probably the slave thing more than anything,
But how many
but
times did
that
you
like
count
that
that
like
disappeared? It like literally disappears at points.
yeah. Well, I mean, no, it literally disappears when you destroy all the crystals. So like,
But
uh,
but it's so weird that you never really see people. Honestly, this is actually very interesting. If you don't do the side quest, you may never actually see the people around you change.
yeah,
Like
that's true.
the places, because I had a feeling, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like as all of this progressed, Clive was annexing these places into the hideaway, not as in
Oh
like,
yeah, because you help like towns and stuff,
yeah,
right?
and you
Through the
have
side
people
quests.
who are
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yo, I'm like your general here, basically. I'm not a force or anything, but I have influence. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if those places, the people in them, then kind of started to understand more? There is one town that does it, but understand like, hey, as
Yes.
part of the hideaway, as part of these outlaws, we kind of understand what they're doing, and we
Yeah.
kind of stop believing
Well, I
this.
mean, Clive says that in one of the side quests. He's like, "Why don't you
Yeah,
join me?" And then she's like, "Ah, I got things to do."
yeah,
So,
yeah. And so
you know,
yeah, at
yeah,
the very end, they're still separate, but sometimes it's like the people are important, the common people,
yeah.
sometimes the bears. But like you said at the very end, because everything, things happen. Um, yeah, yeah. So I think
Um,
that could have been handled better
I
or
think there's
just tossed
like,
out. I would have loved the
I don't
story
know if
just
there's
Jill.
gonna.
I would just like Jill and Clive keep the dominance, take out old, homeboy at the end, and I think we could add a fire story. The
I
mom
mean,
was a
if
fucking
Jill was
villain,
in the
like a.
final, if Jill was in the final fight,
If it was really just like a really good love story, because I, what the thing is you understand, especially from like 14 and then just playing these in the side quests, these dudes have the chops to tell a good story. They have the chops
hmm.
to do it and make all these characters have complex issues, and they really set up some beautiful moments with them. I like if it was just focused on Clive, Jill, dominance.
I think there's room for more story. I mean, because they hint at other nations in the
Yeah,
story,
there's a
right?
whole extra. We're on the continent of Storm.
There's other nations in this world, and like I don't think they would, but this is a hallmark of like Yoshi P with 14, where like he'll drip feed uh story elements into like what the main story is, and then that will slowly like branch off into the new like expansion for 14. So like when uh you're playing like A Realm Reborn, like the first, well, 2.0, so past the reboot, right?
Right, right.
They would like introduce like foreigners, like people from other nations. Like they would just show up in the story. You would interact with them,
Mm-hmm.
and those foreigners would slowly, over time, have a greater voice, and they would be like featured in the story more. And then, surprise, suddenly you're going to another nation in the next expansion, and that's where they're from. And he does it. It's like rinse and repeat. Like they'll introduce like a villain, like they'll show up in a cutscene, and you're like, those guys are weird, but like we're not fighting them. I wonder if we ever, and then you do eventually fight them, and then
Yeah.
you,
It's
yeah.
just it's good
So
world
like,
building.
yeah, it is. It's typical MMO, I think, but like he does that in this game where they're like, there's a nation overseas that fights with this kind of sword or whatever,
Yeah.
and you're like, I kind of wonder like what the nation's like. We're probably never gonna go there,
Oh,
honestly,
that
but
we're not
like,
going to the one hit wonder sword.
yeah. So and then
The
there's
one
like
hit.
that, and then like also the
There's another
spoilers.
realm too. There's like
Yeah, there's other realms. There's also
there's
like
another realm. Yeah.
where the fuck did Odin's mom come from, right?
That was a weird, like when you read some of the stuff with tomes, you're like, what, bro?
Yeah, like
Like
Odin's
Odin's
mom
mom
came
came
from like
from
where did Odin's mom come from? Like she didn't just fuck like Odin is or not Odin, sorry, the guy, what's his name?
Barnabas.
Barnabas, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a foreigner in that land, right?
Yeah, yeah. He actually came there from another spot, then took over.
Yeah, so and they're just like, yeah, he's a foreigner and he just became the king casually. And they're like, okay, well, where is he from? There's more to this world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're probably never gonna see it,
I
but
mean, hopefully we
yeah.
get some DLC. I mean, I don't know
But
who.
what it would be? Question mark. I mean, this is spoilers probably for the actual end of the game. But like, what would the DLC be? Because where else can they go? Like,
I think we have and I guess we'll put like a spoiler tag here. Don't listen if you for a couple of minutes or 5 minutes or something. Um, honestly, so at the end, Clive is no longer. We actually don't know if he is no longer or not. We just see the curse
But
has taken over him.
he's
He's
probably dead.
probably
Yeah.
dead, probably. And I think he's actually on a coast of another place. I don't think he's actually in.
You think he washed up
I
on another
I think
continent?
I think he washed up on the other side, and that's why he's like, Jill, can you see this now? And where did Jill want to go? She wanted to go a place where she could spread her wings, not on Valstia, not on this continent. I think Clive is just another place. He's
But
just in another place on the beach.
he's Clive is dead though, right?
Uh, so all we knew is that he used a little bit of, well, no, a little bit of magic burned off of him, and so his hand was cursed. And we know that the curse spreads. Does the curse spread the more you continue to use it,
The more
or
you
it
use
just
your magic, yeah.
and there's no more magic? So I figure that unless the rest of his body goes, like it just spread all at once, I feel like he's still alive because we jump to the future at
Yeah,
the very end.
there's a time skip, right?
There's a time skip, and we find
Yeah.
out that Joshua was chronicling the whole thing into, Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Which the final boss actually even says. Is the final boss or Clive? Someone says like this will be the final fight of some sort of fantasy. There's like a line in
He
there.
says that, but it's
Yeah, he
not.
says it.
That was like a fan. That's just like a fan teaser. That's just like a thing. I remember that. I was like,
And
"Are
I
you
was like,
fucking kidding
"Are
me?
you
Are you serious
seriously?"
right now?" But like, yeah, no, that was a dumb line. I kind of loved it,
dumb.
but it was a dumb line. Yeah.
It was something I was like, man, they really put that one in there.
I was like, "Did you horse? You shoehorned this fucking line into the game? Why'd you do this?" That's like in the Last of Us TV series. They're like, "Ellie, we are the Last of Us," and he winks into the camera.
Yeah, basically. But I don't know. So there's that. There's I mean, here's that wouldn't be DLC. That's just me going, did I have a glitch in my game? We have stuff with everyone in the hideout, honestly. Everyone in the hideout
Yes.
still doing their thing.
They're still alive.
We never did the whole airship. The airship was never built, which will never be built, but we never hit it. I don't know. Maybe that's some fun little side quest. But like, what other character, I guess, would you want to spend time with? Like Jill goes
for
and
DLC?
explores the rest of the world with.
I mean, definitely Jill. Like, definitely just Jill. Just playable
Jill. Just needs a story.
It's Jill and Torgal, yeah.
Jill and Torgal.
Jill, honestly,
that's Jill, Torgal, Gav, and a baby.
That'd be sick. Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, in terms of DLC possibilities for character development, I think if anyone needs it, it would be Jill and Torgal. And sure, if you want to find out what happens to the baby with Gav, that's fine too. There'll be side quests regarding raising a baby, possibly. But my question is just like in terms of the world, what's left for that world? I mean, we
have a lot because we don't know how it actually ended. We don't know like, how far.
But what's the conflict then? Like, what's the main conflict? Is it like another fucking?
So Clive said it, and this is why this game. The thing I liked about it, the thing it's all the same thing I hate about it. It's too serious. The best parts of the game are sometimes when Uncle is just like, what the heck is that? Yo, let's go do this, or
Oh yeah, his uncle's really funny. Yeah, Clive's uncle's really
joking.
Funny. Yeah.
Gav is being a little bit, not serious, and Sid carries. I say it now. Sid carries us so much, and he's just such a respectable.
He's definitely like the best Sid.
Gosh.
I think honestly, yeah, Sid is the best Sid.
So, the very end, Ultima says, "Yo, so you got your wish. Yep. I'm gonna die. You're delaying the inevitable. What the heck do you even gain from this?" And Clive just goes, "I don't know. I don't know what we gain for this. We might struggle. We might have pain. We might go through this for 100 years. I don't know. But at least we'll have our free will." Basically, there's a whole conflict that's there. And like you said, maybe they take us to some of those lands to help solve something. Because the curse breakers, they're still around. They're actually expanding for whatever reason. We did a quest when the world is ending. Some of them quests made no sense. Hey, we need another scout. What the fuck? Right now?
I remember the scout quest too. Is like
right now.
Do you pass? And I'm like, whatever, buddy. Sure, I don't care. Yeah, you passed.
That's what I did too. I'm like, right now, really?
Yeah, sure. I guess technically you did it. Yeah, sure.
Sure. Maybe that's it. Like, I know people were trying to figure out who Leviathan was, and
Oh, that's a question. Would there? Yeah, violence cool. That'd be a fun thing.
so maybe he has or they have something to do with something. I don't know, but
They've never announced DLC, right?
they've
They
never.
haven't announced DLC.
They haven't, but most of these games have some sort of DLC to them.
Uh, well, so we know 15, the last number title, had like what, 3 packs or something like that, right?
And that was all I think.
Oh no,
Was to flesh
four
out.
packs.
That was
Four
like
packs.
per character, correct? Like they
It
were
was
really
it was
fleshing out
your
characters.
boys. It was one for the boys each, and then one for the main villain.
Okay, yeah, that was they really went like, yeah, we need to fix. We need to not fix, but people love the characters in that game. That's why I want to play it.
Yeah. So there was 4 DLC packs for 15.
Then we had the
And
multiplayer thing too. That was a whole different.
yeah, correct. We
Weird.
got one DLC technically for 7 Remake,
Right, which
and that's it. I don't think you can count the 13 games as DLC. Those are just sequels, right?
those are sequels. Yeah, and
But I
before
feel
that, they
like
don't
here's the
have any-
thing. If
Yeah.
they were working on 16 DLC, would they have not announced it by now, or do you think they're holding off until like a 7 Remake style kind
I
of
feel
thing
like
would
maybe holding
integrate?
off. Yeah, I
Because
feel
when
like
Integrate came out, they were like, "Here's why you want to buy Integrate because it has more story." You know, like, oh, fine, whatever, sure.
I mean,
So
I
if they're
think
gonna do another version of 16, possibly the PC release, is that when they'll be like, "Oh, by the way, you should buy it again.
I
Here's
feel
why."
like that makes sense because obviously they're going to get to a point where they're not going to be selling as much of the game anymore, and they want to sell more of the base game itself. So when it comes to PC, that's obviously, of course, that's just a good time to put out the DLC as well, and they have all the assets. So it's more, if they want to do something in this area, or if they want to go to another kind of coast, but the systems are there. I feel like they don't have to do as much work, of course, as they had to do making this game. Um, and it doesn't have to be anything long. I think people would be okay with something that's only like maybe 4-5 hour, 6 hours or something.
Would you
That's
be okay with a
short.
6-hour DLC? Because I
If
would
it
want fucking at least 15, honestly.
if it's just focusing on one character, I can wrap my mind around that. Like, that's fine, especially if it's a character that we really enjoyed, and I assume it could even come with like some extra things for the base game or some trials or something to kind of flesh stuff out.
Like different swords for Clive.
Different, yeah. Give him some more swords. Give him an axe. I just want to see how he swings an axe. Let him swing it with the Titan hand.
It would be the same animation, but just
It would be
yeah.
the same animation. I mean, maybe that could be a thing. Like I said, this game is best binged. Like I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine binging it.
Like spreading it out.
Well, like just playing the main quest only. This is probably a crazy ride because all those major fights they go back. They probably start rocking back to back to back, and there's some. When you get to Bahamut, you're like, how can it top?
So that was your
be
favorite.
top?
All right. I mean, well, just to wrap it up, but like, what was your favorite fight then? Was it the Bahamut fight?
Yeah, Bahamut by far. I think Barnabas, unfortunately, he was all right. He was cool. Barnabas is cool, but he's spouting that crazy logic. He's spouting that crazy stuff. Like, "Hey, man, come on."
That fight. Did I even like that fight? I mean, it was okay. It was an okay.
It's okay.
Fight.
The moves look cool though. That's the way you're like, oh, that's cool. Sometimes if I didn't like the fight, like the character I was fighting, I loved the moves they were using.
Yeah.
Like the attack patterns. He had some bonkers attack patterns that were fun to look at.
I know. It took me a while to realize for the one attack where he fills the field with danger.
Oh,
I was like, oh, you have to go behind him. That's what you do.
I would Garuda up into the air and then just go behind him.
I tried to time a dodge through those attacks, but then I would like get hit. So then I'm it's just like one. Yeah.
I would say runner-up fight though, Behemoth. One of the
king, really?
The King Behemoth.
You like that fight?
Bro, he was chunking meteors for like 5,000 days.
Yeah,
he just kept chunking meteors plus other elemental spells. Like I felt like I was really being tested, and it was just cool to watch at the same time as like, I feel like my life's in danger. Like, oh crap.
That's true. I think I really like the final boss for that reason. The amount of AoEs that are on the floor, and you're like, oh, stand here to not die kind of thing. I was like,
yeah,
right.
Stand here, but also look for,
Yeah.
what might be coming at the same
Yeah,
time.
stand here to not die, and then if there's like an energy wave coming, you have to dodge through it or jump over it, I guess. But
What about you? What was your favorite fight?
I mean, the Bahamut fight is definitely a highlight because you go to fucking space.
Base. I did not expect. I was like, Bahamut, how do you have so much life? Dang.
I actually really liked the Ifrit fight.
The first one.
Well,
I guess there's only one technically. Yeah.
the one against Ifrit.
Ifrit. Yeah, that was
When
actually
you play as Ifrit.
that was bonkers. I
That
remember
was my favorite
laughing
fight,
throughout
yeah.
that fight. That was a good fight.
Yeah. They only play. There's a song on the soundtrack called I think it's called "Find the Flame." It's Clive's theme. It only plays twice in the whole game, and the first time you hear it is during that fight.
It's a good. I mean, it's a good fight. Like I said,
Yeah.
that first half of the game, man, to the 60
really good.
whatever,
It's super good,
70%. It's a ride, and then you get your side quest, and you.
I think for me, it's not just the side quest. It's not this for me. I didn't really mind the side quest because it also gave me a time to chill out, and I didn't have to be like, I don't know, like it kind of let me just like sit in my computer chair and just like zone out a bit while I played 16 and not had to do stories. I didn't mind it as much.
Yeah,
because I wasn't streaming it. I wasn't, trying
streaming,
to like,
and that's a whole different thing too. Like
because I wasn't.
streaming
Yeah, I mean, this is like a side topic, but I don't stream certain games for reasons like this. For reasons when I want to just like mellow and kind of like turn my brain off or whatever, right? So I didn't mind the side quests as much because I'm like running around and just like being on Twitter at the same time or whatever. But for me, I just really feel like the motivations of the characters and the final boss didn't really like hook me as much as the first part of the game. And I, like I said before, like if I try to think about the final bosses of the other Final Fantasy games, the final boss of this game isn't memorable for some reason. Like I just don't care about him. Like when you think about, I mean, it's hard to compare any boss to Sephiroth, but Sephiroth is a very popular character, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people like Sephiroth. He's got a good design. He's I wouldn't say like really complex, but people legitimately like Sephiroth. He's a good villain, right? And the same thing with like, for example, Kefka from 6. He's kind of like a weird, fucked up kind of clown, but people like him because he's got a personality to him.
Yeah.
He's very memorable. He's got some memorable lines and that kind of stuff.
Crazy good song. Dancing
Yeah, right.
Never Go
Kefka's
Away.
theme.
Yeah.
And if we think about
I mean,
15
even Sin,
too.
even people remember Sin.
So yeah,
Sin.
like Sin, because Sin shows up he shows up in the first 15 minutes of the game, and he's like just there.
And you
And
just
he's such an important part of the story. And then 15, I don't know if you play 15, but like the final boss of 15, I would argue 15 has its own share of problems, but I actually kind of like the final boss of 15. He's kind of a cool guy. He's really charming. He's kind of funny. I like the boss of 15 legitimately. But the final boss of 16 is just like, who the fuck are you? Why do I can't even remember a catchy, cool line from this guy. Do you know what I mean?
He speaks like an AI generated robot.
He kind of does, yeah.
Actually an AI generated robot, which is, you can kind of fall asleep during some of the conversations with them or his.
The final dungeon, I was just like, sorry, what was that? I'm not even kidding. I was like, in the final dungeon, I was like, wait, what did you just say? I was like, wait, what?
When he was,
talking, when he was talking forever, yes.
When he was talking forever, he basically the whole thing is he fell asleep. He went to sleep, and when he went to sleep,
we woke up and he's like, oh shit.
yeah. Mankind had progressed. Mankind was supposed to stay asleep and then awaken to his new world so he could use it as fuel, and then everyone becomes nothing, and then I was like, all right, bro, whatever, okay, cool.
But I don't know. I just like didn't.
No, because he's
for me, it's the villain. Yeah, I think it's the villain. I just didn't care about the villain.
The mom was such a good dude. The mom
she's a good character. She was like a good character. Yeah,
you want to hate her, and at the same time,
it was
actually no redeeming things about her.
Yeah. It was like easy to hate. It was fun to hate her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, like, she had motivations for what she was doing, as messed up as it was. And
even Barnabas honestly had a little bit of a motivation.
Just take the dominance, have expand on some people, and I mean, they have to change some parts of the story, but I think it's just better. It's just better for it, Like,
what if the final boss was Barnabas?
I think they could have. Yeah, they could have played him up even more. Like,
Yeah, it's
because the
true.
first time you meet Barnabas and he does what he does, and even the second time you meet him, you're like, Clive, motherfucker, how are you gonna beat this dude? You
Yeah,
should not.
he like because he wrecks you, right?
He
Yeah.
wrecks you in such a way that you're like, this.
Yeah.
I thought Bahamut was something. This dude is on another level.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
from this realm or something. And honestly, the weird thing is that Clive actually he gets plot protagonist level up. You don't see Clive actually do any training or do anything to get
It's
better.
true.
He just does.
He just rolls up. He rolls up to the castle, and then you're fighting on suddenly you're on even ground, right?
This mother he split
Yeah.
the ocean, and the ocean just stayed up for as long as he
Yeah, that's
wanted it
Frieza.
to.
That's Dragon Ball Z shit right there.
What,
That's Frieza
Clive? What do you
splitting
do?
the ocean of
What can you
Namek. Yeah,
do? What
that's
can you
true. It's true.
do? Like,
It's so funny. Yeah.
and he's like, I'm like, okay, Clive, you just beat him with your will. I mean, he's not. You're not Shimon from Gurren Lagann. You don't turn up that much, Clive, but we'll let you
Yeah,
just
and
keep
then
your will.
and then Clive just like strolls up to the castle, and then like yeah, you're on even ground all of a sudden,
You're
right?
on even ground for whatever reason, even though you get beat in that fight too. You just
Yeah,
get
that's true.
stronger.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyways, sorry. I just
yeah,
like. I mean, the game's good. If you said you gave it an 8, I would probably give it probably around the same. I
yeah.
legitimately liked it. I actually really did like 16. I binged it over I think a week, 4 days, 4 or 5 days, or something like that.
I think it's the way to do it.
Yeah, but like I said, there are some games that I refuse to stream because I really want to be able to just sit in my chair and just play a video game and soak it all up. We talked about this before in our experience with streaming, but in the back of my mind, when I'm streaming a game with a heavy story or there's a lot of cutscenes, I'm always like, are you guys bored? Are you
Oh
guys
no,
enjoying this?
I 100%. So this game, I wanted to play it to actually challenge myself to play a game like this on stream,
Yeah.
and to see what that's like. Because the same thing will happen if I want to play. Because I want to play Judgment on stream, and I
Yeah,
want to play.
yeah, because I told you my experience
Yeah,
with Yakuza Zero, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those games, and if you are a streamer and you're going to play something that's brand new, that's come out, that's story heavy, specifically story heavy, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if I play Armored Core or Elden Ring was different. Those games, they have story, but it's nothing that you don't mind seeing when you look at the stream. You know, when
Yeah.
you don't feel like you have the spoiler cast on. You're like, okay, I can't look at this. I can't look at this because I'm going to play it myself. This is one of those games where at any given time you might be spoiled. This is a game where, unfortunately, the combat, while it looks flashy at one point, it's not really entertaining to look at. If you just look at someone play it for a while, it just kind of starts looking samey because the enemies are kind of damage sponges at one point. Um, that's what I felt. It looks a little samey. And then, of course, like you said, when you have a cutscene, if you have alerts on or something, and oh, this was a sincere moment, and all of a sudden, like, an alert plays, like, hey, you got to follow, blink. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks
like
for the
oh yeah.
follow, that sort of thing. So I've made rules because my chat's like, yeah, we want you to play God of War on stream. I'm like, y'all thought 16 was some stuff. Oh, God of War, that's my boy. So I've determined, like, alerts all turned off. I'm There are some times you might not even, like, hear me say anything because
You're just like sitting,
I'm
yeah, because
sitting. Yeah,
that's a thing too. Because like when I'm playing a game with like a cutscene, like like let's say at least 5 or more minutes, right?
yeah,
And I try to be entertaining and I want to be a little bit engaging. I'll kind of interject some thoughts. I'll be like, oh, that's funny, like, oh, that's cool, or oh, wow. But
exactly.
when I'm actually just playing a video game and I'm just being myself, I'm
Just
like
playing it. Yeah,
deadpan.
just like, yeah, the
I'm just
deadpan.
staring. I'm just staring at the screen, sitting in silence, and that's how I actually play video games, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
like, there are
It
some games that I just want to do that. Like, I just want to sit in my chair and play
like, and
video games. So.
honestly, it does work. What I learned from this game is a lot of my audience didn't have a lot of experience with Final Fantasy. The ones that did really stuck around and continued to watch. They're like, because they wanted to see how I reacted to the same parts they reacted to, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But for the ones that just, I'm gonna call them out. Sorry guys, if you playing Skyrim, Bethesda RPGs, Western RPGs, anyways, you know, there's a limit on how much they could watch before kind of zoning out a little bit, and maybe they come back. But I could feel that, like, oh, okay, like, you guys, some of y'all, it's not your cup of tea. So if you are planning to play a game like this on your stream, know if it's your know if it's your people's cup of tea or not, because that'll totally change how it is, right?
Yeah,
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
they can watch. I feel like my chat could watch a Yakuza game because
Hmm.
it's like a movie, a human story. We watch FMV games, right? And we've gotten to the
Hmm.
point where we can watch FMV games in a different language, and so it kind of carries over a little bit. It's weird. It has that weird hook in it, like, oh, this is Japan, and they're interested in Japan, and they're like, oh, what the heck is that weird thing? Like, what are we singing karaoke or something? Like stuff like that keeps you cooked a little bit, but Clive is monotone. This game is very monotone. I don't think we see Clive do anything outside of yell, anger, a little bit of tears, and some very,
And
very,
then getting
very
naked. Yeah, that
small.
was hot. That was a hot cutscene.
That was actually a very beautifully. It was a very well scripted slash what do you want to call it? Like set. It was the imagery in it is actually really nice.
I
What
mean, yeah, I
actually is
liked it. I liked
happening?
it too. Yeah.
I mean, if I cared more about Jill at that point, I think it would have been a whole different game. I
Yeah,
think
like
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for Yakuza games at least, there's two parts of it. It's fun to stream Yakuza games because it's so wacky, right? There's
Yeah.
like karaoke, and then there's like weird side quests where you infiltrate a cult, and the cult is doing weird shit, right? That's fun. To me, that's the fun part of streaming Yakuza when you do all the weird stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's the other part of Yakuza where you sit and it's a cutscene for an
And it's a
hour,
cutscene
and
for an hour, and you're like,
when it's that, I'm just like, are you guys okay with, like, I'm not talking much, and
yeah.
I'm also not playing a video game. We're like kind of watching a movie. So
And
like,
I mean, and it really is. It really does go to the audience you have, like I said, and how many people you have in the chat. And sometimes it's, luckily those games people kind of come back usually just to pop in and see like, oh, someone's playing a Yakuza game. Like, let me check it out for a little bit. So hopefully
but
all
they do
that
have like
changes.
a dedicated fan base, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, hopefully some of that changes with the new stuff that's rolling out on Twitch this fall, with the new discovery feature for
Oh
clips
yeah. But
and the
yeah. I
weird
mean, I remember
TikTok.
you popped in when I was playing Yakuza, and I was just doing taxi races for an hour,
Yeah, you're just doing taxi races. I'm like, what the heck is this crazy taxi Yakuza stuff?
and that's all I did. Yeah.
Oh man. But there is an art to it for sure. My last piece of advice is, if there's a game like this that has side quest and main quest, and I've been doing better at it usually. These just are long. Yeah, dedicate a day for side quests. Put like, hey, we're doing side quest today. Hey, we're doing main quest
That's what I
today.
did with Yakuza, man. I was like, today we're fucking taxi racing, and I honestly committed to it, and we
And there's
raced. Yeah.
and there's gonna become a point where you have to decide: do I really want to keep doing side quest?
Yeah, I had to like,
Everyone
so
will know.
when I finished doing my taxi races, I was like, all right, that's it for Yakuza. Thanks, guys. And then I just kept playing by myself. So, yeah.